added to it, I think, a little bit just by being around professionals, by being around confident people in this career path. Where did the confidence come from you to go from? Obviously, you went from professional to getting back into more the collegiate stuff, but you weren't the director. What made
Mhm.
you think that this was the right time and the right place to go for something like that?
I think that it's sort of a range of experiences. When I throughout all of the different things that I've done since college, I've had some independence in those roles to sort of coach and do some of my own. I've had to, whether it be responsible for being at the barn when the rest of the trainers were traveling, and so I was at home with whoever was still at home and not at the horse show, and I was teaching those lessons sort of all day long, worrying about managing those horses when people were away. And so there are a lot of aspects of sort of the pieces of being the director that are managing the horses and sort of making those day-to-day decisions and overseeing all of that I had had a little bit of. And one of the things about the way that we were set up at Sweetbriar is that one of the things that I would often do is take students to horse shows. And sometimes, because of the way and the number of students that we had, we're not all going to do everything we can't because we've got too many different things going on at one time. So there might be one thing happening in on campus. There might be one thing happening. They might be going to Auburn, and we might also be going to a horse show at the Virginia Horse Center. And so I sort of had those experiences of being on the road with those girls at the horse show at the horse center, and being responsible for the barn and for the horses, and then also the only instructor, the only coach there that was sort of doing that teaching part. And so I've had a little bit of that independence, but I've also just sort of had a lot of good mentorship and a good people that I've gotten to watch coach and watch manage. And I think the horse care piece is something that is a big part of this, that like, I don't want any of the other coaches to come after me, but like lacrosse sticks, there's only so much you can do to make sure you treat a lacrosse stick well, right? But when you like have a living, breathing horse, that's a little more involved to take care of those, right? So a
Yeah.
lot of the responsibility of the horse care part is something that I've been comfortable with for a long time, just because of my experience at Centenarian working with the horses in the barns that I worked in before.
Take me real quick before we move on to the team outlook and goals. The interview process. I mean, I was part of one of those little meetings, but you know, from what I understand, you got to hear from like all the legends that we have here at
Mhm.
Lynchburg, and talking about Steels and Kadelkas and the Olsons of the world. What was it like? I mean, a lot of people would crumble under that type of weight, or just be intimidated a little bit to know that these legendary winning championship coaches are going to come here and judge me, for the lack of a better phrase.
Yeah.
What was that dynamic like for yourself, being on the only person on that side of the room?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's really cool about that is you're I like the idea that I'm walking into this level of a winning environment. And I think it's really cool to know that there are those coaches that have been there for that many years and have that much success, and probably with that much success could have decided to go elsewhere,
Mhm.
and didn't. And that's awesome. I think I have been really lucky, I think, in that I have been part of some really successful moments in the last couple of years at Sweetbriar, and that's sort of, I would say, helped maybe my confidence in my own ability to sort of, not in this spring or next year maybe live up to those standards, but just in the fact that I think I'm I'm confident enough in what we have and what we could be that I think we could get there. And knowing that those people are around to be able to sort of mentor you, which that's the other thing I would say, is that they didn't come off nearly, I mean, they're intimidating, right? Any interview is intimidating. But I think, to me, one of the things that was really attractive about the program and the department is that every single one of them seemed ready to help mentor and help somebody that's coming in as a first time head coach and coming in a position where they're trying to do some big things. um, Everybody's sort of ready to help you do that, and I think that's one of the things that sort of takes away maybe that like intimidation factor. It's more of like a, wow, you're awesome, tell me what you know, rather than a like, oh my God, you're awesome, I'm afraid to talk to you, right? And I think that's kind of the vibe that I got. And I think that that's sort of it's a really positive thing to be in such a successful department like that, but then know that people are there trying to help you out rather than they're just sort of judging whether you're good enough, I guess, maybe.
Yeah. Do you have separate goals for both formats, or is it really an inclusive feeling? Because, really right now we all got to be part of the same barn, same thing.
Yeah. I think one thing that I think is really important is that the goals are sort of, they transcend both teams, right? My big goal, just because of the world that we're in right now and the time frame of this, is confidence and consistency. And so not necessarily that we're going to go win 3 or 4 times or 5 times, right? Not that we're going to go have the best season that Lynchburg Equestrians ever had in the spring. That's going to be a short season, condensed, and be completely different than ever before, right? That's not reasonable. But I think what I do really want is, I think in just the last 8 months, honestly speaking, we know that there's been a lot of transition for this team, and there's been a lot of uncertainty for this team. And I think my first big goal is giving them a sense of confidence in the fact that we're done with the transition part, and now we're able to sort of, we have our footing, we have a foundation, we're going to try and build off of that. And when it comes to the actual riding and the competitions and their success in that way, I think just trying to get to, again, a place where we have a sense of consistency. We're practicing and we're going to horse shows and going to meets and having consistent results, and we're not no big mistakes, no big sort of moments where things fall apart, and they'll come inevitably, but trying to just get good, confident, and consistent rides at home and at horse shows, so that everybody sort of gets through this spring feeling ready to go sort of full steam ahead in the fall. And everybody, again, because of the way the season has worked out, nobody's had a real fall. And that's, I think, also maybe allowed people to sort of take a little bit of a break from worrying about the competition part and just focus on riding and building their skills and getting better in that way. And so I'm also really too, with that confidence and consistency piece, the fact that we've got one girl that's going to graduate next December, I think, on that roster. We don't have really any true seniors right now. And that means too, for me, that really I'm trying to get us sort of through this spring to feel confident and ready to go for next year, so that next year feels like a really strong, full, complete year. But that's not to say that we're not going to try and win some.